Women are still vastly underrepresented in technology, especially in leadership roles. To change that, we need more women stepping into tech fields and more allies creating space at the table. Welcome to PhD with Women on IT Hack the Future. My name is Jamil Navarrosa, and today's PhD Positivity Hack delivered will be by our guest, Farrah N. Khan. Our topic for today is about opening doors, women rising in tech leadership. Episode 195 starts here. Let me remind you this is a grassroots community that focuses on women in IT, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo, and empathy is critical in making space, shifting the power dynamic, and building inclusive pathways. Just a quick note, what you're watching right now is a pre-recorded session, but we'll be here in the comments to chat with you. And our topic, again, opening doors, women rising in tech leadership. Join us for a positivity hack delivered with Farah N. Khan, seasoned leader, entrepreneur, and former mayor of Irvine, California. From biotech and small business to public service, Farah has built a career at the intersection of innovation, governance, and community impact. She made history as the first woman as the first Muslim woman to lead a major US city and the first woman of color elected as Irvine's mayor, championing tech, clean energy, and global investment. In this episode, she'll share how women can rise in tech leadership, the importance of allyship, and what it takes to build inclusive pathways for the future innovation. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Farah. Hello, Farah. Thank you so
Hi,
much for joining us today.
thank you so much. It's wonderful to be on the show.
And to start, where in the world are you today?
I'm in Irvine, California.
Wow. And um, having governed a major city, you had to balance public needs with private innovation. What's the biggest personal leadership lesson you took from that? And how do you make sure that success you build in tech always serves always serves the wider community too?
Absolutely. I think the biggest lesson to learn here is be a good listener. It is so important to hear people out and understand what their needs are. And when you do that, you understand what your role is. And so whether you're out in the public or whether you're at home and balancing life, it just becomes important for you to listen, to be clear about your objectives, and really to be out in the community. It's a people person job. So if you're not out in the community, then you're definitely missing out.
What is the single biggest myth or oversimplified idea about leadership that you had to completely discard once you were actually in the highest positions of influence?
I think a lot of times people think that people in high positions can do whatever they want. And that is a huge misconception because you don't get to do what you want. I mean, you can, but I think it's more important to do what the community wants, what is needed by the residents, the people that work in your city, the people that are doing business in your city. That's what's important. And when you start reflecting the needs of the community, I think you become a much better leader.
And we're talking about opening doors. Can you share a moment where a door was open for you, but you almost missed the opportunity entirely? And what advice would you give our listeners on spotting those quiet, potential life changing moments?
I think a lot of times, especially as women, we don't give ourselves credit. And so there was a time when I was asked to take a leadership role, and I kept doubting myself. I kept questioning myself and wondering if I was the right person for that role. And I think a lot of times we as women have to realize that we shouldn't have to be asked by multiple people. We don't have to justify within ourselves, but we have to take on these positions because they're meant for us.
If you had to pick the top three soft skills that are non negotiable for career driven women today, what would they be and why are they so crucial for translating ideas into leadership?
I think clear communication is very important. Emotional intelligence is critical these days. A lot of people don't think, that in a corporate setting or in a leadership position, that emotions are allowed. But that's really where you get to the heart of your work, is if you're able to have empathy with people, if you're able to understand their needs and be able to connect with them. I think those two are one of the highest things that, people should embody within themselves. It's critical, and then of course being flexible, right? So with any opportunity, there should be flexibility because you never know in this job market, in this business environment, what's coming your way. So if you're able to be flexible, be able to adapt to different changes, I think you're going to do a much better job.
When faced with a complex, multi-faceted problem like balancing regulation with innovation, what is your personal go-to strategy or framework for breaking it down and finding an innovative solution?
For me, because I come from biotech background, it was very important to always look for the root cause of any problem. So when you're dealing with problems, it's important to kind of take a step back and peel those layers of what's going on and figure out what is at the root of it. Because if you don't get to the root of the problem, most of the times we are only fixing or finding solutions for a minimal portion of the problem, and that's why it keeps repeating itself. That's why it keeps coming back. And so for us, it's important that we actually take the time to understand what is the main cause and then deal with that cause. Because for me, every time I've done that, I've been able to move on much faster.
What specific advice would you give to women who are looking to kickstart their career in tech or take that first brave step into an entrepreneurial journey?
Understand what you want to do. Knowledge is key. These days, especially now globally, we're seeing that women are still not regarded for their talent and their experience. So we have to work twice or three times as hard. Especially women of color have to prove themselves even more. So I say, whether you're going into a job position, whether you're starting your own startup, understand exactly what you want and then set your goals and then go out there and do it. It's no one is going to be there sometimes to hold your hand or to encourage you. So you have to encourage yourself, and you have to be able to tell yourself why you're doing this. And yeah, just uh, be resilient.
In a high impact career like yours, boundaries are essential. What's the most important thing you've learned about saying no, not just to save time, but to clear a purpose driven path for the biggest things you want to achieve?
And saying no is a lot of times very difficult, right? Because we are always the ones that feel like we can solve the problem, we can do everything. Um, but it is important because depending on what you're tasked with, um, understand that you can always delegate something by saying no. You can always say no because you don't feel comfortable doing it. And that's okay. I think we have to teach ourselves more and more often that saying no is okay. If we're not comfortable with it, if we don't feel like we want to do it, maybe it's just not even the right time for us. That it's okay to say no, and then maybe even just hand off something to someone else, and um, always don't feel like bad about it. You don't feel like you've done something wrong. And I say this because men say no all the time, and they don't have any problems with saying no. So we should become comfortable with setting some boundaries for ourselves, for our health, for our wellness, and make sure that we're doing so in a way that benefits us.
We know allyship is vital, but sometimes it stays superficial. What is one uncomfortable boundary stretching action you wish an executive ally would take this week to truly create equity? And how can they overcome the fear of getting it wrong?
That's an interesting question. Um, I think, what I would love to see is people not be so performative in their actions. Um, when you talk about true allyship, uh, it's about being there for someone, truly, wholly being there for someone. And what we see a lot of times is a bit of a performative action, and that means that um, people are doing something just for the performance of it. There's no true value behind it. There's no true intention, and I think for us, it's important that we would love to see people, I would love to see people that actually take action and mean it, so that it's not just performative, but it has an impact. A lot of times the performative actions are just there for the time being, but they don't have any real impact. And so when you do something with real impact, you'll see the changes, you'll see how it affects someone else, and you'll see the difference there. And so, without impact, it's not really much of an allyship. It's not much of an action. I think it's important that people understand that these days, especially, people. A lot of people are looking for someone that is going to actually stand up for them, that is going to speak out for them and have their back. That's true allyship.
That's good. And how do you advise women leaders today to ensure the cutting edge tech and growth they are championing is driven by a genuine sense of purpose and benefits the lives of people rather than just chasing market trends?
So I always tell startup, anytime that I'm meeting with them, that you gotta have, you have all these questions that you answer of why you're starting your new business. But one important question is, how will this impact people? Right? So if whatever product you have or service you have, is it actually going to improve the lives of individuals, even if it's a small group of individuals? If there is some sort of an impact, then you know you're on the right way. If there's no impact and you're just doing it because it's going to be financially gaining for you, I suggest not do it, because it's not going to. Money isn't everything in life. It's not going to give you the fulfillment that you need, and that comes from doing something that positively impacts an individual, that makes their life a little bit better, that really shows that when we're looking at technology, we're looking at it from a lens of humanity. And then I think the more of us do that, the better this world will be.
That's very nice quote. And what's one unfair or outdated rule or process, what we call organizational clutter, you quickly identify and remove because it was slowing down or holding back women and minority groups?
Oh, um, I think one of the ones that really stick out to me is that we need validation. Um, and I think for women, it's like we need validation from men, and for minorities, it's that we need validation from our white counterparts, and that's not true. And I think that does slow us down. That does hold us back. When I ran for office, or when I applied for jobs, or started my own business, I did so validating myself. There was no one that was telling me, yes, you can do it. Yes, you're going to make it. But it was a self validation. And I think a lot of us wait for someone else to validate us. And we don't need that. Like I said, if you have that purpose, if you have that drive, if you have that passion to do something, then you go out there and do it. And it's you do it for yourself, you do it for your family, you do it for the community, but you don't need that validation from outside.
Tech visibility has changed since the pandemic. What's your best advice for for women leaders on purposely establishing visibility and building authentic relationships when so much of the professional world is now hybrid or remote?
Networking is key to anything that you do. So as you're building relationships, find people that are going to champion you. There's a lot of people that you can network with, but there's only a few that are actually there to support you, that will be there during your difficult times, that will actually open doors for you. So find those people. And it doesn't have to be a large group. It can be a small group of people. And it could be 2 or 3 people. But those folks are the ones that you really want to have as your allies, as your mentors, as your close knit network group, because they're there for your success. And so, even in the age of remote work and virtual meetings, reach out to people. Make connections. Use the chat to get connected with folks. Give them your contact. Have those phone calls afterwards. Have those meetings afterwards if it's possible, because at the end of the day, face-to-face contact and actual voice conversations are so much important. They don't replace the virtual world that we're in. They don't replace the transactions we do online. So I highly recommend that you always stay in touch with someone.
You speak about creating space at the table. If you could give us a blueprint for the ideal table for the future tech leadership, what kind of environment or culture should we all be working to build right now?
Gosh, my ideal table would be 50% women and I would say 50% or more, maybe 70% people of color. I think that's the ideal table where you have the diversity that reflects our world, because technology is global. The work that we're doing is global. And so to be at that table, or to have people at that table, I would want people from all walks of life, from all over the world. But 50% for sure have to be women, because that global number of women in tech is so low right now, and it's very disappointing.
Irvine is known for innovation. What is one practical takeaway or a specific successful initiative from the Irvine ecosystem that you think other cities could adopt to genuinely nurture inclusive growth and female leadership?
Absolutely. So for Irvine, it was very important for us to really look at how we wanted our technology sectors to grow. And so we have a diverse group of businesses that are here that call Irvine their home. But the major ones seem to be medtech, gaming, your electric vehicles are a big one. Clean energy is a big one. And so as we're talking to all of these businesses, we're going in and making sure that they have all the resources that they need. But more importantly, we're meeting with the people that work there. And I'm really proud to say that when I walk in to a lot of our companies, that I do see women there. And I know that, with our college UCI, which is right here in Irvine, we're seeing a lot more women into technology roles. So I know that the role of women in technology is growing, not as fast as it should be, but where the lacking is really where it comes to leadership in technology, right? So when you're talking about higher level roles, when you're talking about C-suite roles, that's where we see a drop when it comes to women. And I think one of the things that we really want to see more and more of is that women are achieving those roles, that those doors are opening for them. And one of the companies that we have here really is training women for those roles. So I think one of the takeaways that other cities can take from Irvine is really having a strong connection with your technology ecosystem, having a strong connection with those that are working in your city and understanding their needs, and then being able to leverage whether it's your educational institutions or others to open those doors and make sure that women that are achieving their goals have somewhere to go when it comes to leadership roles, because that's going to be critical moving forward. When we talk about equity in the workplace, it starts with us nurturing the next generation of leaders, and many of those leaders are women.
How do you distinguish between legitimate business feedback and feedback that is unconsciously or consciously biased against women in leadership?
Oh, that's a tough one. It happens all the time. And it happens in a very subtle way that sometimes you don't even realize it until after the fact. And so for women, I think it's important to listen clearly. And when you feel that you are being discredited or discounted, to speak up and let the person know that what they said is unacceptable. I think it starts with us letting them know what is right and what is wrong. And for years we've had to deal with this. We've had to deal with this implicit bias, and it shows up in us being seen as not in those leadership roles, not as the aggressive ones. And leadership is not about being aggressive. It's not about how big you look or how aggressive you are or how mean you are, because that's a type of role that like from back in the day. I think new leadership is all about integrity. It's all about compassion. It's all about understanding, and it's a team effort. So you are leading, but you're also building that team, and you're building those relationships for success. And that's what new leadership looks like. And so that's the type of leadership that women, I tell women all the time, like, you don't have to act like a man to be in leadership. And that's really doing a disservice to all of us. And so be strong in who you are, be your authentic self. Don't discredit who you are and how you lead, but also call out when you hear something that is not right. We have to put an end to it somehow, and it won't stop unless we start speaking out. And I would also add that our male allies, that if you hear or see implicit bias, you need to be our ally and speak up and be there for us, because just as much as it is our job to make sure it's not happening, it's your job as well.
Uh, what is the most challenging vulnerability you have intentionally displayed to your team, and what was the resulting shift in team dynamics?
What was the most challenging?
Um,
Sorry.
vulnerability you have intentionally displayed to your team, and what was the resulting shift in team dynamics?
I think our emotions are a door that opens up us up to vulnerability, and showing our emotions is okay. And I think in times of stress, in times of need, if a leader or an executive shows emotion, I think they're received much better. For me, there's been many times where during my time we had dealt with whether it was the pandemic, whether it was Black Lives Matter issues, whether it was any other issue that we had to face in our communities. Me being there for people, showing emotion, showing that I was just like them, that what they were facing was what I was facing, or what they were facing is something that I understood and cared about. was a turning point of people respecting me and also trusting me. So there's this trust that builds when you connect with people in an emotional manner. And so I think that sometimes what we consider our vulnerabilities are actually our strengths. And we have to use them more often because, people, and I will say myself as well, that when I meet someone and I see that they are emotionally connected to me, I resonate better with them. And so, it's again, it's that idea that as a leader or as an executive, you have to always be strong. You have to show that you're not affected by anything. Kind of builds that wall between you and others. And so I say, open up, show people how human you are, because that's going to connect you more with them.
Uh, Dr. Farah, you are very inspiring, and this conversation is very inspiring, and you are the very role model of women in technology. Do you have any female leader that you initially admired but later realized had a flawed approach to diversity or mentorship? And how did that change your own philosophy?
Gosh, so when it comes to leadership and politics, I think it was a few women, that I considered to be mentors that I looked up to, um, and but also in politics, it's difficult because it's like it's a different kind of sport, right? So it's for me, I felt I took it like a job. So I wanted to come in, I wanted to do some work, I wanted to make lives better. I wanted to improve our systems, our businesses, our transportation, make housing more affordable, and then be done with it. Whereas some people take this as to see that sometimes work would not get done just for a person's longevity in an office. And so that was really disappointing for me. It was just, why would we elongate the suffering of people just so we can be in that seat longer, that we can keep repeating the same issues over and over again and say that we were going to solve them, but not have the intention of solving them. And so I think that is something that was an eye opener for me, and I didn't appreciate it. But however, on the private side, I think it's wonderful to be able to, set your goals and complete them, knowing that the impact that you're going to have on people is going to be direct. And so I think for me, especially when I'm looking for women that I want to admire or that I want to look up to, I'm looking for those that are actually making a difference in lives, that are, changing the world for better. And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be something very small, but it has to be something, right? And so, I look back and I think about Shirley Chisholm, who ran for president back in the day when women weren't running for president here. And she has a very interesting quote where she says that, if they don't give you a seat at the table, you just bring a folding chair and take a seat at that table. And I always love that quote because it reminds me that not always are you going to get invited to sit at that table. Not always are you going to find that seat waiting for you. Sometimes you just have to bring your own chair and make room at the table, because that's one of the ways that we make change is we insert ourselves.
It is. That's very correct. And I really agree. And speaking of people, is there a particular person who you are deeply grateful for who helped clear a path for you? And could you share a quick, inspiring story about that connection?
Sure, I'll tell you one that's very recent. So, coming out of office, I would say, and it's inspiring because the chief operating officer of the company that I work for reached out and was interested in seeing what I was going to do next. And so I was having conversations with him, and I was really taken aback because he, when I felt that there was really not much going on, he stepped in and he said, you know what, I believe in the work that you do, and I want you to continue that work, and wanted to hire me on for the position. And not only hired me on, but also saw the potential in bringing me into the C-suite level, and that's John Young. And I'm grateful for him and thank him because he saw what many others maybe didn't, and he took that chance when many others maybe didn't want to, because when you're in politics and you come out, everyone thinks you're very political. But that's, again, for me, that was a job that I did, and so I'm grateful that he was able to overcome everything and see that I would put my 100% into the company, and that I would be doing what I needed to do to make it successful. And so sometimes people surprise you, and this one was very pleasantly a surprise for me.
And what's next to you, Miss Farah? Are you working on any new exciting projects right now? And we'd love to hear about what's your next on your horizon for driving innovation and community impact.
Yes. So right now, I'm working with Quantum Emotion, and this is an exciting company because, and I always tell people, and I start with this because it's important to understand the context. A lot of us lived through Y2K, and I remember, the next day in January, my mom said to me, you know, what happened? You were talking about Y2K for over a year, and letting her know that that was the main part of Y2K. We didn't want anything to happen. So when I was biotech, we worked a lot behind the scenes to really make sure that our systems were upgraded, that our files were saved, and everything that we could do. We had meetings with IT all the time to make sure that Y2K wouldn't be an issue. And so a lot of the public that didn't have that type of work thought it was as nothing. We were making a big deal out of nothing, but that was the goal, to not have anything happen. And I see the same thing about Q Day, which is Quantum Day. Literally, it's like a digital disaster day, and it's really about what's happening right now. So people have cybersecurity, but we have people that are able to harvest data. They might not be able to decrypt it right now, but they're holding on to it because they know that in a few years they're going to have access to quantum computers, and those will break through any encryption that we have right now. And so quantum emotion is has a patented technology that is going to not only restrict people from harvesting the data now, but also stop them from decrypting it when quantum computing becomes available. And that's because they're using quantum number, random number generation. And so with that, it means that as they're trying to decrypt it, the numbers are all constantly changing. So you're never really able to decrypt the data. And that's the kind of security that we are working on right now. And I say this because a lot of people, again, don't take this as a big deal, but it is a big deal. Can you imagine all the people that have harvested data right now, can't access, but in a few years that data will become available? That means all our information is available. And what are we going to do at that time? How are we going to retrieve that data back? We obviously can't. But what we can do is protect ourselves for that future. And again, we don't want Q Day to be the day that there's digital disaster. We want it to be a day that nothing happens. But that only happens when we're proactively securing our data today. So I'm super excited about the work we're doing with quantum emotion, and then the new technology that's coming. We just launched our quantum hot wallet for cryptocurrency, and now we're developing a chip as much as it's small and can be inserted in anything. That again is going to provide that type of security that's important. And so a lot of exciting stuff happening, and I'm glad to be in it.
That's very nice, and good luck to your future projects, and that th- good luck to you actually. And as we are
Thank you,
towards
thank you.
the end of our show, Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Women are like tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are in hot water." In life, how are you in hot water, Farah? How are you brewing?
Huh, my brewing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing quote. I think, um, again, like I said, we don't give ourselves enough credit until we have to or we're forced to do something. But our strength is there. And so I say, don't wait for the water to get hot and boiling. Be out there and show your true self. Share your strength with others, and make sure that you're not taking the easy way out. I think for me, one of the challenges has been making those hard decisions, making those hard votes, doing the hard work, because it pays off. I could take an easy road, an easy path, but at the end of the day, that's not going to give me the satisfaction that I need. And I'll probably have to deal with the issues later on anyway. So why not take it head on and be the strength that I know that I am? And I think that's important for all women to understand that you're strong, you're capable, and we don't need to wait for any sort of a disaster or a time where we're pushed to the edge. Let's be our true, strong, authentic selves every day.
I totally agree. What is the number one book you can sit and think, "Oh, I wish I read before I started my career"? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'll just repeat the question. What is the number
Oh, I'm
one book
sorry.
you can sit and think, "Oh, I wish I read before I started my career"?
I wish I read The Alchemist early on, and I didn't read it until very recently. And so, and I say that because it's just very enlightening. Sometimes we don't think clearly. We go roundabout ways in doing things, and we think our goal is somewhere else when it's right here. And it I think it helped me understand that I have to be in the present, that I have to give my thoughts and my feelings a little more time, that I have to really understand that sometimes getting to my goal, there might be a journey, but I don't have to fight through that journey. And for me personally, the life has been a journey, because I started out in biotech, and then I went into small business, then I went into nonprofit work, and then I went into politics, and then now I'm back in the private sector. And so it's, if you're flexible and if you're open minded, life is a journey with ups and downs. But if you can ride those waves, you're going to come out a winner no matter what. And so, I wish I had read that book earlier, because I think it might have given me a little bit a better vision of my goals and how to navigate through life. But then I also think that maybe I read it at the right time when I needed it the most. So you never know.
That's very classic. I also love that book, and that's very nice choice. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it, and I really love that.
Yes.
Mm. Let's imagine that you could meet anyone in the world for a private breakfast. Who would it be, and where would you choose to meet?
Why? So for this one, I really thought about this, and I thought of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and I thought that maybe a cafe along the seaside of Monrovia in Liberia would be a perfect spot. And I say that because she was just amazing, a Nobel laureate, and she for peace, and she was Africa's first elected female head of state, and she did so much for the civil rights in her country, for women in her country, and her journey was not always that of uplifting, right? So she had some trouble in the beginning, but then she kind of found her way, she found her path. And she realized she didn't have to be connected to certain people that weren't beneficial for her, and so she kind of created her own path forward. And in doing so, the liberation of Liberia, the importance of women, and education, all of that came through. And so I love her story because she did what was needed to be done, and she did it with integrity, but not before some stumbling blocks. So it's important for us to also know that we're not required to be perfect all the time. We learn from our mistakes. We learn, from choices that we make. And so always know that, whatever you've done in the past or whatever mistakes been made, there's a path forward that you haven't paved yet. And so I would love to have that conversation with her, to hear what she did within herself to kind of go beyond her mistakes and to lead in a way that made a difference in that country and for its people. And I think that's something that we all can learn from. We don't have to be stuck in our decisions of today, that we can build a better vision and future for ourselves. And it's always okay to move on and not be held back by our past choices.
Oh, that's very nice. And lastly, can you please give us your favorite life lesson quote?
Oh, this one has to be from Maya Angelou, and then I love this one because it's so real, and it's similar to the discussions we've had in this conversation. And it's like, you know, uh, uh, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And again, it comes back to that emotional intelligence part of us. It's that human connection. And so, no matter what you say, whether you have a microphone or a bullhorn, and it doesn't matter all the things that you do, but when you have that interaction with people and they feel connected, um, that's something that they will live with. And I've experienced that in my life too. I remember a lot of times when I felt that connection with someone, that emotional connection, and that memory has been long lasting than probably anything that anyone's ever said or did for me. So that's one of those quotes that I think that really resonates beyond time. So going back to who we are, technology, AI, and human beings. And it's always going to come down to us being our true selves.
Thank you so much, Para, for joining us today. This conversation is very inspiring and very helpful to our women in technology. And that's it from 195 of PhD Livestream. Thanks to our guests, Para and Khan. To stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hack
Thank
delivered, Follow Women in IT and turn on notifications to be alerted once a video has been released. Stay tuned for our next episode and more details will be announced soon. And thank you for our fabulous team, Gracie, Marian, and Natalie. As always, our positivity quote comes from positive thinking only and goes look for something positive in each day. Even if some days you have to look a little harder. Today is your day. Hack the future, hack the positivity you want. Thank you so much.